Blue particles danced in the air before a large whirlpool of white formed in its center. A steady buzz of electricity zapped across the whirlpool before the entire floating essence dissipated. "It worked!" a female Rumen exclaimed, before her partner quickly covered her mouth. "Are you mad, Delavue? Are you trying to get us killed already?" He pulled his hand away quickly and began shaking it, fighting back a scream. "Did you just bite me?" "Don't ever put your filthy hands on me again, Z." Delavue patted her pants as if she was covered in dust. "Bad enough you have to hold my hand for the teleportation to take us both. Speaking of, I still can't believe it worked." Delavue ran off and Z ran after her. The large buildings of Mecha surrounded them, and compared to Magia, Mecha was way more organized, so the two of them running through the streets stood out more than Delavue's excited yells. Delavue finally stopped on one of the streets to catch her breath, but Z pulled her into a nearby alley. "We need to find a place to stay. As soon as we figure that out, we can look into getting jobs and blending in." Z pulled a few items out of his pockets, a small notebook, a silver pendant, and some of Mecha's currency. "Shelter, jobs, and food," Delavue mocked him. "Can't we just bask in the fact that Psy's plan actually worked?" Z sighed. "No one's more happy than I am that Psy's experiments to enhance the distance of your teleportation magic to go beyond the gate separating Magia from Mecha actually worked, but the Emperor sent me with you to ensure that we stay on mission." Delavue threw one of her hands in the air and began walking away from Z. "It's a marathon, not a sprint, remember? It becomes a sprint if we die on day one because we're being suspicious. Or have you forgotten that we were sent here to find a way to stop an all-knowing cyborg goddess?" Z sped up his steps so he was walking slightly ahead of Delavue in order to look at her face when he was speaking to her. "One wrong move and we're done. What day that happens doesn't matter." The next few months would be crucial in Delavue and Z's stay in Mecha. Psy, the head of the Magia Council, sent them to gather as much information about Sybil as they could. However, the aforementioned all-knowing cyborg part of the equation was a constant fear for Z. He knew he was sent just to protect Delavue and keep her focused, but this plan may have been doomed from the start. Did Sybil know they were there the moment they arrived? Was she purposely feeding them false information without them even knowing? Delavue was born with the ability to teleport, and she has used it to prank, tease, and cause mischief her whole life. One day she used her magic to swindle members of the council, and instead of getting punished for it, Psy offered her a job. Delavue wasn't quite living the lavish life in Magia before Psy discovered her, so a chance like this was surprisingly something she was on board for. The change of scenery would be good for her, and helping the Empire gave her a purpose. Sadly, it was no easy task getting her to teleport from Magia to Mecha. Sybil had the imp god, Tero, and his people constructed an enchanted gate specifically designed to keep other Rumens out of Mecha. So for many years, Psy researched a way to get Delavue's teleportation to bypass the power of the gate. This involves some further manipulation of the imp god. Psy convinced Tero's brother, Sero, the crocodile god, to get the imp god to enchant a bracelet with the means to bypass the power of the gate. Sero was the consul to Emperor Claudius, so it did not take much convincing on his part, but the imp god had made a deal with Sybil, and her discovering that he had broken that deal could mean disaster for Tero and his people. There needed to be something offered in return so that the risk was worth the reward. This offering came in the form of a new transportation system utilizing magic that would allow Tero's people, known as the Mori, to trade more freely with Magia. Furthermore, if Sybil was dethroned and Mecha was reclaimed, then a similar trade route would be established using Mecha's technology. Trade with the Mori was something Claudius was willing to do from the beginning, so that was an easy deal to make. On top of that, the second half of the deal was built on some pretty heavy what-if scenarios, so it felt like a bridge worth crossing if the opportunity one day presented itself. After all other experiments had failed, this special enchanted bracelet finally got Delavue to cross the gap. To Z's surprise, the rest of their plan went smoothly. Blending in, finding a place to live, occupations, even finding ways to send Psy information through magic in a civilization that was so heavily against their kind. It felt like they were part of something much larger than themselves, but it also felt too easy. Every time Z discovered new information about Mecha's defenses or Sybil's plans for the future, he couldn't help but feel as if Sybil was right there with him, looking over his shoulder.